Hi, in this video, we're going to talk about configuring an IPv4 floating static route. Okay, so before we get started, I also want to mention that the same concepts apply to creating a floating static route for IPv6. All right, so let's say router R1 has two paths to this remote network over here, 192.168.2.0, one through R2 and one through R3. But for whatever reason, the preferred path that we want is via R2. Okay, it does look longer, but maybe bandwidth is better, or maybe this is a preferred ISP, whatever. I just want to show you how to do the floating static route. So we configure a regular static route via R2. Okay, now remember, a static route has a default administrative distance of 1. So when it is offered to the routing table, if there's another route being offered to the routing table, the same prefix and prefix length, in this case, it's a default route. So we're creating a floating static route, but it's going to use the default route. If there's another default route offered to the routing table via any other method, dynamic routing protocol, or maybe another static route, it's going to take the one with the lowest administrative distance. Okay, if the administrative distances are equal, then it will install both equal cost, both paths. All right, but in this case, we've got a static route via R2, and now we've created another one via R3. But notice we've put a number on the end. That's changing the administrative distance to 5. Okay, so that's going to be our backup path. All right, so if I do show IP route static, now both of these static routes are being offered to the routing table, but which one's going to actually be installed? Well, it's going to be the one with the lowest administrative distance, which is 1 by default, this first one. Okay. And so that's the one that's actually installed in the routing table. For some reason, if that route is no longer available, then the second route with the higher administrative distance, of 5 will be offered to the routing table. Okay, let's verify that the path to 192.168.2.0 using this default route is going through R2. We do a trace route, and we can see that the first hop is 172.16.2.2. Okay, so it is going through 172.16.2.2 to get there. Okay, let's simulate a router failure. So I'm going to shut down both links on R2. Okay. Now, something to take into consideration. A static route will be removed from the routing table if the next hop address is no longer reachable, or the link that's used for the egress interface is no longer in the routing table. It's no longer, that directly connected network is no longer there. So if the static route has a path via the next hop or egress interface that's no longer available, it says, well, I can't get there using this information, so it removes it from the routing table. Now, what we want to make sure here is that R3 has a similar setup, that when this link fails, that it's going to be sending packets back to R1. Okay, remember those Alexander 3 routing table principles. Okay, all right, so we're going to assume that R3 will be using the path via R1, although we're not dealing with the configuration of R3 in this example. Okay, so R1 is the primary path that with the default administrative distance of 1 is no longer in the routing table because that exit interface is no longer available, and that next hop address no longer available. Okay, so the second static route, the one with the higher administrative distance, gets offered to the routing table and it installs that. You can see that the administrative distance of 5 here. And we can verify the path with a trace route, and we can see that it's going directly via 10.10.10.2 to get to 192.168.2.1. So again, it's important that R3's configuration will use R1 instead of R2 in its return path. And also important that if those links do come back up, the primary route, the first static route with the lower default administrative distance of 1, will be reinstalled, offered back to the routing table, reinstalled in the routing table because it has a lower administrative distance of 1, and the one with the administrative distance of 5, this static route here that's currently being used, will be removed. Okay, so that's a little bit on configuring IPv4 floating static routes. And again, the same concepts apply to IPv6 static routes, IPv6 floating static routes.